Today is Father's Day, and my grandson Ian is filming this film. My story goes back about 20 years, the story relevant to St. Andrews, and it started when I was asked to be as part of a educational seminar to examine areas in my world that I could have impact on, that I could perhaps cause change on. And as part of the exercise, the instructors asked me to create un cuadro and to put myself in the middle and to put all my communities around me, all those people and entities that were part of my life. Naturally, you put yourself in the middle and your wife is perhaps right there with you in the center of this, and then you have your family, which is another community which is very close by. And then there are other communities that affect your life, like the people you work with, the people that maybe you play tennis with, your families outside of the country, your city. So you have all these communities around you. And I looked at them and I said, I want to change something that I think is important for the city of Philadelphia. I want to move the Philadelphia Phillies baseball team from the suburbs where they had a stadium, or outside of the city where they had a stadium, into the city and create a stadium in the city that was amalgamated with the life of everybody who lived in the city. They would become part of our life. And I presented this. I did all the drawings and I presented this to the committee. And they looked at me and they said, Cecilio, qué pesado, eh? Do something that is fun. You're too serious for this. Do something that'll really turn you on. Go back to your board and look at your communities and see where you, in your heart of hearts, want to make change. So I went back to my board, and here in the lower right-hand corner was Escuela Escocesa San Andres. And I looked at the other communities that I was part of, and I kept on coming back to St. Andrews. And I said, resubmitted my program to the critics, and they said, that is fine. Recreate the community of your class of St. Andrews, clase de 58. So little by little, over the course of 2 years, this is 20 years ago now, I started contacting classmates. I had not seen any classmates since I left Argentina in 1959, when I was 17, when I graduated from San Andres. So I started looking up my classmates. And I would find 2 or 3, and they would lead me to another 2 and 1, and it grew, thanks to the internet. And within about 6 months, I had, 40 to 50 classmates identified with email addresses. So I sent them all an email asking them to send me either a bio, or if the bio was too heavy duty, send me a joke. Just send me something. And I started getting all these missives from all over the world. because the Clase 58 was in Europe, it was in Australia, it was in the United States, it was in Chile, it was in Peru, it was in Ecuador, it was all over the world. And I started getting these letters. It caused me great joy. And I put it together as a book, as a yearbook. I put everything that I'd got from my classmates together with pictures that some of them sent, and it became a yearbook. And then I sent it to everybody. And this is part of a transformation that makes me so proud today, because one of the things, and the first thing that came out of this, was that Enrique Lopez Pelliza invited us to his home out in the camp for a reunion. People flew in from all over the world, classmates from St. Andrews who we hadn't seen each other from 1959 to 2002. 2004 probably at this point. Long, long time. I also have to say that, for instance, one of the things that I got out of this, we had one classmate who was one of those unusual classmates, Nelson Sohn, who was loved by his class. He wasn't a great athlete, he was not a great party person, he was not a great scholar, but he was someone that was loved by his classmates. And Nelson had been living in Switzerland. He'd become very successful living in Switzerland. And he had contracted some kind of pulmonary disease from a flight that he took in Europe, and he was dying. When I sent the book that we finished back to his wife, she wrote me and she said, "You guys, you, the class of 58, made the last 6 months of Nelson's life just a joy. He just couldn't wait to get the next message from his classmates." All of this produced in me a vision of the strength of the community that was created at St. Andrews. The Clase de 58, since the Enrique Lopez Pelliza reunion, now meets, has reunions. We have a website, we're on WhatsApp. Everybody's communicating on it, not everybody, but by and large, the bulk of the class is communicating on a daily basis. And these are moments of unalloyed joy. So what this had me reflect on was the power of St. Andrews. What was it that created the wherewithal for something like this to happen, to take off, where everybody could participate? I'm no longer a leader of the group. The group has taken off on its own and is going in directions totally independent from me, and absolutely joyful directions. What I got out of St. Andrews was, first, I got a bilingual education which has served me all my life. In a way, it has allowed me to look at the world through two different prisms. Because as you know, things in Argentina are quite different than things in the rest of the world. And I've always had that in front of me as something that guides me, not only in my architecture, but in my life. The other thing that I got out of St. Andrews, and talking to my classmates, I see it often spoken about, is this tremendous sense of independence that we got. That we could go anywhere. That we could move with grace. As you know, and as I know, one of the things that affects our life in Argentina in an inordinate way is the politics of our country. And that was very much of the crucible that was happening at the time. We were in St. Andrews when Perón was kicked out and then came back, and then Evita came back, and so on and so forth. And I think we all took on, aside from what we got in our education, which was an extremely good education, is that we got this, how do I say it, sophistication around what you can control and what you can't control, and things that you want to change that you know you can change. Great school, great school. What would I say to a graduate, someone coming out of St. Andrews? I sit on the Dean's Council of the Graduate School of Fine Arts at the University of Pennsylvania. And for example, in the Graduate School of Fine Arts at Penn, fully 65% of the class are people that are not born in America. These are people coming from all around the world. I think your education at St. Andrews allows you the option to become part of schools like the University of Pennsylvania. It uniquely qualifies you for admission to schools like the University of Pennsylvania that look to be global educational powerhouses. They look for people who have those very qualities that St. Andrews has. That is why I'm real proud to be clase de 58, Escuela Escocesa San Andrés. Yay!